Yeah,
in a 2020 situation. Don't say the P word and don't say the C word. But
this is a family show. We don't say either of those.
You're ridiculous. No, I'm just saying, in 2020.
In 2020, in May, we came down here to Florida.
Oh my God. Would you stop?
In 2020, we came down on vacation.
Get red. This light is already horrific enough. We're sorry about the lighting. Their bulbs, we have to change all the bulbs over to white. They're all yellow, so the light's going to be atrocious. You're just going to have to deal with it. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are going to tell you how we went from a 5-year plan to a 6-month plan from moving from New York to Florida. Okay guys, so in our last video, we kind of took you along with us on our journey to Florida, like physically how we got from New York to Florida. It was just the actual driving there, but we thought we would do a little more informational video for you guys because we get questions all the time on different things. You know, as far as the logistics of like exactly how we did everything. So we had been wanting to move to Florida for like what, 10 years?
Yeah, it's been probably 10 years or so. We've been talking about moving. We've kind of, I guess, looked into it a couple of different times, but nothing really ever seriously because we had a lot of different roadblocks to overcome. But this year, it kind of turned into the perfect storm, I guess, for lack of a better term. Single income family, we homeschool, we have shared custody situations where we have a lot going on. It's just for lack of a better term. So there was a lot of obstacles that we had to sort out, so that there were a lot of things that caused us to not really get too far into the planning process in the past, but this year just ended up, it all ended up working out. In
January, we were talking about wanting to move because his job at the time, he was commuting an hour one way in New York. So it was an hour home, or an hour there, an hour home, and that was on a perfectly good day, not, you know, snow, winter, ice, any of that. Just a regular, normal, sunny day.
And none of that was highway driving, or none of that was in-town driving. I mean, it was 49 miles one direction. So that chewed up a lot of time.
And he didn't even pass a grocery store the entire time.
No, one gas station. That's it. Just one gas station.
It started talking about moving to the town where his work was. We were like, well, maybe we should try to move there. And we didn't know if we'd be able to sell our house because our house, when we bought it, was previously listed for like, it sat there for 2 years before we bought it. So we figured, okay, well, you know, it's going to take a while for our house to sell. What do we do? You know, and I was getting impatient because he was gone so much. It was just frustrating for all of us because he was spending so much time driving. I mean, at least 10 hours a week plus and then I think it was January, and we're like, all right, you know what, let's just set a 5-year plan to figure out where, you know, to move. But then we're like, well, if we're moving again, why don't we just move? Like, if we're going to move again, I just want to move out of state. Like, this is ridiculous. And we've wanted to move to Florida. I lived in Florida from when I was born in New York, and then we went to Florida when I was like 3. And then I stayed down there until I was in 9th grade, and I started 9th grade again. Like 9th grade, I started in New York.
Well, the thing about it too is if you know us, then you know what I'm about to say. If you don't know us, here's a quick introduction to us. We're not afraid. And you can put a period at the end of that. We're not afraid of anything.
We don't feel like it's a be-all, end-all, like, oh, you do this, so now you have to do this forever. That's unacceptable.
We're not afraid to go after what we want. And when we have a dream, spoiler alert, we achieve it. Because that's what you do. I mean, when you have a dream, you achieve it. You don't try for it. We're not afraid, and you shouldn't be either. There's nothing to be afraid of because...
Who cares?
I mean...
if it doesn't work, do something different. Like, who cares?
You can't be afraid to fail because you're inevitably creating a situation where you're afraid to succeed too. And as we continue on to tell you how we did this, no matter what we say from here on out, it was just one foot in front of the other. And
one step at a time.
And that's, God didn't reveal the path to us. God just said, keep walking. And we did. We put one foot in front of the other. We didn't know where it was going to land. We were confident it was going to land on solid ground. That's all we knew. And we just kept moving forward because that's what we were called to do.
We were like, well, if we're going to move, we really want to move out of state because, like, moving's obviously a pain in the butt. You know, nobody wants to move. It's like it's a lot of work. So if we're going to do it, let's go big or go home, you know? And we were talking about it and we're like, all right. He's like, well, let's put a pin in it and do a 5-year plan. He had a great job that he loved. You know, like switching, trying to do all of that would have been a lot to take on. Now, this is our conversation in January over breakfast at some little bakery. And it was like, at the time we were talking about moving to where his job was, but then when we were talking about, well, let's move out of state, he's like, okay, let's do a 5-year plan because A, I love my job. B, we just remodeled our house. Like we built it, like, you know, customized it to ourselves, and we didn't know if we'd be able to sell it or not. And it was just a lot to take on, you know, trying to move. We also have, we have 5 children, you know, between us. He had 2, I had 2, and then we had 1 together, and now we have 5. So 3 of them are with us, you know, the majority of the time. And then we would obviously have to work out arrangements with those 2 boys if they were gonna, you know, if we were gonna move out of state, we would need to have some kind of arrangement. We wanted to do that like basically 10 years ago, I guess, but they were like 1 and 2 at the time, and there was really no feasible way to make that situation work to where it was good for everybody involved. So we just put a pin in it at that point. And then now in January, we're like, okay, if we wait 5 years, the boys were at that time 10 and 11, because Liam turned 12 in September.
Yeah,
so they were 10 and 11. We're like, okay, 5 years, they'll be, you know, 5 years older and able to, you know, maybe we'll have more of an option at this point. So we decided to do a 5-year plan. Then March happened, and all hell broke loose everywhere, all over the country, but especially in New York.
Yeah, just probably like a lot of you did. We, our state shut down, and they sent me to work from home, and you know, for a minute it was cool. Because I got to be home, I eliminated that 12 hours a week driving that we were talking about, but it...
Well, I mean, that was sweet, for real.
Yeah, that was cool, but it didn't change anything else. We lived nowhere. We hated where we lived. Mm-hmm. Because ultimately it wasn't our dream. It just wasn't a fit.
It's not for us. It wasn't for us.
It's, you know, you've heard the saying, bloom where you're planted, but, you know, like we've said... If you plant a cactus anywhere but the desert, it's not going to bloom. Bloom where you're planted is great if you're planted where you can bloom. And it just wasn't working. And I told her, let's come up with a 5-year plan, maybe a 3-year plan. And then March happened, and we just kind of got very stagnant. And we said, okay, something's got to give. And then in May... we decided to go to Florida for a vacation. You know, of course, because we were quarantined, we went 1,200 miles on vacation. So we left New York and we came to Florida on vacation, and that was it.
It was just a completely different world, though, for real, because New York at that time and this time currently still, it's like repeating itself, but it was just night and day. And it was like as soon as like we drove, because we weren't going to deal with airports and all that. I'm not paying for 5 people to fly regardless anyway. But
well, we're not going to pay $15,000 for a moving company either.
Well, yeah. But I didn't do, we just drove down to Florida, and it was totally different. It was amazing. And this trip, we actually did not do anything Disney, Universal, any of the normal like touristy New York or Florida stuff. We just didn't do that. It was very simple. We're like, let's just keep this very basic. All of this stuff was going on, that everybody's been dealing with this year. So we didn't want to spend a ton of money because we had no idea what was going to happen or what was coming up. So we're like, let's just keep it as low key as possible.
And when we just had to get out and see with our eyes, we just had to listen to God. God was saying go, and we went. That's all that we knew was go, and we did. And that's it.
So we drove up, and we drove back to New York after that trip, and our mind was made up. We're like, this is happening. How are we going to make this happen? How are we going to do this? So that's where we're at now, at that point. So the first thing we had to work out was, my two older boys, like, we had to work out how to work out an arrangement for them. They wanted to go. I don't get into the whole court thing and back and forth. We don't play those games. We don't want anything to do with that. We try to keep things as civil as possible, between the adults as much as possible. It's, not always the easiest, but we try to just do the best we can. And the boys wanted to go, so we all started having conversations.
Just what the takeaway for you, because our situation doesn't really matter, it doesn't always apply, but the gist of it was that the kids were at a point where they spoke up and said, we want to move to Florida. So we have always empowered our kids to use their voices. We thrive on communication, and we encouraged our boys to do that, firstly with us, to say, okay, we want to move to Florida. What can we do about this? And then after that, we encouraged them to use their voice to speak up and say what they wanted. And once they spoke up and said, hey, everyone, we really want to move to Florida. We need to talk about this. It was a whole different conversation. And then all of the adults were able to get together and say, okay, well, this is what the boys are saying. So we need to take that into consideration. They're not just little kids. They're growing into their teenage years, or their preteen years. So this is something that we really need to take into account. Now
we got back, the first things first was the kids, working out an arrangement for the kids. So we did not put the house up for sale. We did not start looking at houses in Florida. We did absolutely nothing until that arrangement was worked out. We came up with an arrangement together. We wrote it all out, and then we had a judge sign off on it, and this is what it was, blah, 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 blah. So we worked out a plan that was good for us. We did not let someone else tell us what we were going to do with our children. So we all sat down and did that. So it was about like a month, maybe, total. Probably about a month, right? Mm-hmm. So as soon as that was worked out, we put the house up for sale. And again, we had no idea how that was going to go because, like I said, the house sat on the market for 2 years before we bought it. It's selling left and right. So we're like, you know what? Let's just throw it up and see what happens. Because the custody was the hardest part. Like, we had no idea if that would ever, we would agree on something. So the fact that happened, we're like, all right, well, that worked. So let's see what else. And we're just going to go until we get a no. And we're just going to go until God closes this door and says, no, it's not going to happen. So custody worked out, and then put the house up for sale. We called a realtor that we had worked with several times before. She's the best one around. We knew that she would do an amazing job. If anyone could sell this house, it would be her. So we put the house up for sale, and
at the very, very end of May.
It was Memorial Day weekend we were here.
The Memorial Day weekend we were here, and then we went back to New York the 4th or 5th of June, I believe. Because we were here in Florida for like 10 days. And then we went back up to New York. We had the schedule hammered out in about 3 weeks, and then we put the house up for sale. So it was right at the end of June that we put it up for sale. We went through...
So yeah, it was June. It was for sale in June, right? Mm-hmm. So all of July, we're watching like all these houses sell around us. Now again, we're out in the middle of nowhere. The houses that we're selling were the ones in Buffalo, Rochester. We were like an hour between both of them, like right in the middle. So we're seeing all these houses left and right, boom, 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 pending. And it was like, all right, seriously, come on. Like, there was nothing, no nibbles. We had a couple showings, but it was just nothing. So it was like, all right, just stagnant. And I was starting to get antsy, like just frustrated, because it was like, all right, what the heck is going on? Why can't we sell? But we weren't like having a ton of showings. It was just like one-offs here and there. So it wasn't like a lot of stuff to keep us occupied. Plus we were quarantined. So there was like really nothing to do or go, like nowhere to go, nothing to do. And it was just like miserable by the day. And we were just in Florida. So we knew, wait, life is still going on. Everything's on and popping down there. What is going on? So it was just more frustrating by the day. And then we decided to just kind of let go and let God. And we're like, we can't sit every day like this miserable.
So fast forward to the end of summer into September, the weekend of the 11th, September 11th, I think it was the 10th and 11th. I could be wrong on the dates, but it was right around there. It was like that weekend. We had an open house. The open house went incredibly well, and we ended up with 2 competing offers after the end of that. So with an accepted offer on our New York home. So there's the next step in the process was underway, but we ran into issue after issue after issue selling that house.
There were so many hurdles. It was not easy peasy, whatever. It was not it was just crazy how many hurdles, but we jumped like every single one. It was nuts. It ended up with, here's the first problem, okay, solution. Here's the next problem, okay, solution. And these were not small problems. I mean, they were like expensive.
They were big, expensive problems. When we bought the house, we were under a misconception that there would be an inspection on the house done by the VA, so we actually didn't do one. I know. Stupid.
Never ever. Always get an inspection, no matter what.
Lesson learned. We were told the VA would do one. They didn't. So, long story short,
we got hosed.
We had to put a radon filtration system in.
$1,000.
We had to completely rewire the house. The breaker box did not have a main shutoff.
$2,500 credit.
There was...
What else was it?
There were a few other things. I don't remember offhand.
Oh, the fireplace. There was something with the fireplace.
Yeah, the chimney was cracked and starting to fall.
Ugh, it was like one thing after the next. It was ridiculous.
We were told, don't worry about that. That's a $200 fix. They just have to cake batter some stuff. I don't know. They have to do something to the top of it. It's going to be $200. Quote came back, $4,000. Awesome. So
yeah, it was something crazy.
It was big expensive problem after big expensive problem, but there was always a solution because we just kept going forward and we didn't allow ourselves to say, oh, we just failed, what now? We always allowed ourselves to stay on the path of, okay, what are we going to do about this? How can we handle this? Yeah. And we
kept our mind on
big expensive problem after big expensive problem, and there was always a solution. There's always a solution.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just may take a little longer than others to figure it out, but we found those solutions and we overcame all of those hurdles.
Yeah, so New York takes about 90 days to close, apparently. I don't know what they got going on up there, but Florida is about 30 days. New York is about 90 days. So once we knew we were far enough in the process, we started looking at houses in Florida. But the problem is that we needed somebody to accept a contingency that it was on our New York house selling, because obviously we couldn't, if our sale fell through, then we couldn't do that. We had to just have the person who was selling a seller accept, okay, listen, when our New York house closes, we can close on this house, basically.
We normally would. Yeah. It didn't make our offer really that enticing. So that was tricky. And
it's a market now where houses are going so fast. So we just started looking around, okay, what do we need? What do we decide on? What's our budget? Where can we go? Whatever. So we got pre-qualified. We knew what we could do. We started going through the process. We had our inspection. We actually came down to Florida for our inspection because we had an awesome Florida realtor as well.
Hold on, you're jumping the gun. So here here we sit now. We did actually go through the entire home buying process as well during the selling process. She pretty much handled everything that has to do with selling the house and buying the house. How she managed to do all of that in a single day as a single person, I have no idea. But either way, she did. So she was handling all the selling stuff, while at the same time we were shopping for houses. She found an amazing realtor here in the who was willing to do all of the legwork for us. So he would go out to the houses, he would record for us, and then send the videos to us. We would also FaceTime with him while he was at the house so that we could see what he was showing us.
Yeah, and I could be like, well, can you look in this closet? Can you look at this, look at this, look at this, you know.
Jiggle that knob, it looks loose. Or what's that little mark there?
Yeah, like different things like that to really get, you know, in the guts of it. And then he would do the walkthrough, because the pictures in Florida, all the houses we were looking at, some of the pictures like were absolutely atrocious. You could not, like, it was dark, dim, whatever. You couldn't really see. And when it would say virtual tour, it literally, you click on it and it plays a damn slideshow of the pictures that are already there. It's not a real virtual tour. And you need to know the layout. So he would go into the homes and like actually walk it for me and, you know, like go through and see everything and, you know, such whatever. So it worked out better for us that way. We could get like a vibe and say, okay, absolutely not. Or, okay, let's keep this one, you know, on the back burner. But you also have to work fast because the houses were going fast. Like we did put an offer in on one, and it was like they had like so many offers the same exact day, so we ended up not getting it. It was crazy. Like it was like bidding wars like left and right. It was insane.
So Steve Billington was our realtor from the Billington team at eXp Realty. If you're coming to the Central Florida area, look him up. I promise you, he will take care of you. We have no financial stake in this at all. We just want to support Steve because he did such an amazing job for us, and we want you to be taken care of. You'll be in great hands. So we put our offer in, and it was accepted. So we're moving forward on a purchase of our Florida home. The process is different here in Florida. You actually have up to 15 days to schedule the inspection, where as opposed to New York,
it might be 10. It might be 10.
Could be 10, could be 15.
Somewhere in that range. I can't remember exactly.
In New York, you had 3. But here in Florida, you had, she says 10, I think it was 15. But either way, you still had an extended amount of time to get the inspection done, which actually afforded us the opportunity to plan ahead and be here, which was, I would highly recommend,
so
guys.
Twice in a...
Yeah,
in a 2020 situation. Don't say the P word and don't say the C word. But
this is a family show. We don't say either of those.
You're ridiculous. No, I'm just saying, in 2020.
In 2020, in May, we came down here to Florida.
Oh my God. Would you stop?
In 2020, we came down on vacation.
Get red. This light is already horrific enough. We're sorry about the lighting. Their bulbs, we have to change all the bulbs over to white. They're all yellow, so the light's going to be atrocious. You're just going to have to deal with it.
Okay, fellas, guys, gentlemen, I'm telling you, I would...
There's no guys watching this. It's all girls.
Well, fine. Ladies, stress to your partners. Make it as mandatory as you can to be here for the inspection, because what's going to happen, John, our inspector, phenomenal.
Cornerstone Inspections.
You'll be in good hands. No financial
Not
stake.
an ad.
No paid promotions.
They were amazing. It was John and Nick.
Yes, they were phenomenal. We just want to take care of you.
Okay, battery died, so we had to take a break. Note to self. Get multiple batteries. Anyway.
Well, I'm enjoying the perks of my new job.
Okay. So we got the inspection. We came down to Florida for the inspection. The people who did the inspection were amazing. They did a great job. Very, very, very thorough. It was legit the most thorough inspection we'd ever had. We have had other ones. I know we did skip out the last time. But we have had other inspections in the past, and it was amazing. The inspection was really, really good. So it gave us a chance to see the house and everything. I think everything went great, right? As far as the inspection goes, there were no issues. A couple tiny little, like, dumb things, nothing major at all. So, went back to New York. Then what?
And then everything was done. It was easy after that, right?
No, so after we went to Florida, yeah, legit, actually, you know what? I think it was on the way to Florida. In the car, I was fighting with the guy from the mortgage company. Was that the job issue, or was that was another issue? We had issue after issue with them. I ended up freaking out on this company. I called them a dumpster fire. It went bad.
We handle business differently.
Who? Me and you?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. But guess what? That night, like, the VP of the company called him and was like, "We seem to have upset your wife."
Yeah.
They made it right. They fixed the issues. So, I call people dumpster fires. You're a little nicer probably than I am, but either way.
I'm a little more diplomatic. Either way, we get results.
It got to work. It works. It got done. So yeah, so that got handled. The job thing was another hurdle. We had to figure that out for you.
So yeah, the job situation was different too because I had a plan. Ultimately, one of the motivating factors that we had to move down here, or to move in general, to get off of our butts and achieve our dream was freedom in a lot of different senses, but freedom was ultimately the goal. And I had a plan, a career path that would set me up to a place where I would be essentially self-employed. I would be a 1099 employee for a company. And I'd taken a lot of steps to move towards that, so that was the next step in the process. However, it was a big step, and the mortgage company, they were freaking out about that, and they said, you can't do this right now and still get the mortgage.
But legit, this was after we were already pre-qualified. We were moving forward. We put in an offer on the house. We had the inspection. I believe we were already that far into it.
No, we weren't yet.
I think I already paid the appraisal too. I don't know. It was far into it though. And then, the job came up, so he had to find a new job. So he started reaching out. Go ahead.
Yes. I don't want to call it fortune, but fortune favors the bold. And when God says move, don't wait for him to put a hand in your back. Get moving. Ultimately, what happened is once I found out that my plan wasn't going to come to fruition at this point because of the way that we had to get the mortgage, what I did was looked in the area that we were moving. I looked for the leading company that did what I do, and I reached out to them. I found a contact, I reached out to them, I emailed them my resume, I emailed them my cover letter, I introduced myself, and I said, this is what I have to offer, and this is what I will bring to your team, and this is why we are a good fit together. 30 minutes later, I got an email back. They set up an interview on the way up through the line, where I ended up interviewing with the VP of operations, and they brought me in. I didn't apply. I didn't do any of that. I reached out and I said, this is who I am, and this is what I can do for you. And that's what I did. I went straight to the bottom of that rabbit hole. I knew where I wanted to go. If this plan wasn't going to work, this plan will. So I just dove in and did it. So do that. Don't be afraid to sell yourself. Don't be afraid to be confident. There's nothing wrong with that. So that's what I did. Was I looked for the head of the industry that I am in. I looked for the leader of the pack here where I was going, and I reached out to them and said, you and I are a good fit, and here's why.
So we got the job lined up. That, of course, was nerve-wracking because all the while, the New York house could still fall through. So we had that in the back of our minds. I mean, that it's a possibility at all times. The kids were lined up. That arrangement was solid. That was good to go. The house was selling, was pending, and our house here was pending. So both of them were lined up and ready, but at any point, anything could fall through, you know. So he ended up leaving his job that he was at in New York and started his Florida job. Now, it happened to be that he could start remote. So he started, how long have you been there now? 6 weeks?
Yeah,
7 weeks?
I started October 19th. It was my first day with the company.
So October 19th was his first day with the company in Florida, but he was working in New York. And then our original closing was November 16th. So we were supposed to close on our New York house at that point. And then our Florida sellers that sold us this house were, you know, they were getting frustrated the whole time because, like, well, as were we. But it was just like one thing after the next. It kept taking forever. Our closing was November 16th was our first like scheduled closing. It wasn't like a time schedule, but it was like the time that we were told that it would close. And it didn't actually close until December 4th, right? Mm-hmm. So it was actually closed on December 4th. And then what we had to do was we had to close on New York before we could close on Florida. We did them both in the same day. So then it was like I called around. I got homeowners insurance. I got that handled. And then we had to do, I called and got internet. That was a whole nother debacle. Always check your internet company before, like, to know if you can have internet, because I kept asking the sellers, like, with their utilities and stuff, but then somehow it ended up just kind of slipping through the cracks. And then when I went to get internet established, the company that I was told the only company that was here, I called them and I'm like, okay, well, what are your speeds, you know, so I can pick. And they said 3. I'm like, what? 3 what? You know what I mean? Like, no, this isn't going to work. Apparently, because there's so much, what is it? Like building, growth. What's it called? What's the word?
Yeah, growth. The Central Florida area where we're at, it's growing so quickly that the communications companies haven't been able to keep up with it. The construction hasn't been going fast enough. So in the more established side of town, the older parts, I guess, their speeds are lightning fast. But out here where a lot of the new construction's at and a lot of the newer suburbs are at, the communications construction hasn't kept up. So our speeds are actually a little slower. By a little, I mean a lot. So we did the research and realized that there are a couple of other companies out there that do also offer internet in our area. So
the reviews were atrocious, though, so I was super skeptical and super anxious. But he's different.
I being the more level-headed one.
What does that mean?
You got to remember, there's a lot of times you can take those reviews with a grain of salt, because the people who are happy are busy being happy, and the people who are pissed are going to tell it from the mountaintops. Right.
So that's what he told me, because he got on the phone with them and started getting, because I was calling Spectrum, that's who we had in New York, and I'm like, that's who I want. They can get 400, they can get 200. Those are the speeds I want. You know, I don't really care about that. I mean, we can work with 50. It doesn't really matter. But 3 was like, hell no, that's not going to work, you know. So I started trying to figure this out. Now I'm panicking again about the internet. So we found this other company. He gets him on the phone, and then he's telling me that about the reviews. I'm like, okay, let's give it a shot, whatever. And it's been great. So I called them, and I had the internet installed prior to us getting here, because everything we do is app-based. We don't have like DirecTV, Dish. We don't do any of that. We do everything app-based. So I wanted to make sure that that first night we had internet. So we got the internet pre-installed so that it was ready when we got here. I actually got the water and electric, like all the utilities, I got those changed over on my drive down here. I just called them like on the Bluetooth and just got all that handled. So the garbage pickup, like for trash, we had to pay that. And it was like $60, I think, for, I don't know, some crazy amounts a month. That one wasn't that big of a deal. We had to pay for electric. I think that was like $100 actually. But something is a deposit, $50 or something, I don't know. and then we had to pay, we did not pay anything for internet yet, and we had to pay, what's the other one? Water? Yeah, I had to pay water.
Yeah.
That was, I think, $50. I had to pay up front.
Whole lives doing everything ourselves, that it's just an enormous amount of work. So we're willing to pay a little bit to have somebody just come and pick up our garbage. So that was a choice that we had. So we do have the landfill that we can go to.
You have to just check what's in your area if you're looking at going.
And you'll have to determine what choice is best for you. If you have a truck and you have a couple minutes on a Saturday morning or whenever you decide to go to the landfill, then great, do that. For us, it didn't really work out that way. It's we too much going on, so I don't have time for that.
So a couple of the other things I wanted to say, like about expenses. So we have not registered vehicles yet because we've only been here like 5 days.
Yeah.
So what I have heard about registering vehicles, I'm legit planning on like $500. I don't know how much it is, but I've heard through various like groups and stuff that it's like $250 a person or something. I don't know, something outrageous. But honestly, our car insurance did go up from New York, but it's really not that bad. And it didn't go up like that much. The U-Haul, I'm logging in so I can do the exact amount of the U-Haul. Or
Okay,
do you?
that. Let me talk for a minute. So
The battery's gonna go again though, so we gotta go fast.
So, what we did to get our household belongings from where we were to where we are is downsize everything.
Okay, yeah. Sorry. Legit, if you could sell everything, just do that. That would have been a million times easier. However, us being who we are,
There's a lot of our furniture that was brand new, and there's no way that we would have gotten enough out of it to refurnish our new home. So we did have to transport that. We have
full house outfitted, brand new from Ashley Furniture. There's no way we could have sold it. So we sold a crap ton of stuff, but not any of our good furniture because we knew it was better to just take it because we would have had to rebuy it all when we got here. So you got a U-Haul. Go ahead. Which one? 27, 26?
we downsized everything possible, first of all. And then we packed up a 26-foot U-Haul. Use every single nook and cranny that you can in that truck, and I promise you, we fit a 2,200 square foot house with 5 people, enough belongings for all of us, in a 26-foot U-Haul, and I probably had the back eighth of it empty. I mean, we could have fit so much more in that. You'd be surprised. If you just take the time to load the truck the right way, you could fit a lot of your belongings in that truck. And behind the 26-foot truck, I was also towing a car trailer that had my car on it. And then she followed behind me with the van that had her, all 3 boys, and St. Bernard and Cat.
The U-Haul out of the account was $3,500.
Now
so $3,500 for just the U-Haul. That does not count the gas, but it does count the miles, right? That was like out the door.
What you get for the U-Haul is you get the truck rental for 5 days. This is what we had for our rental. For 5 days, I picked it up on Tuesday and loaded it. We drove down on Wednesday and Thursday, but you get the truck for 5 days. And we had a total of 1,377 miles. That was what our rental for the truck covered. It also covered, part of that cost covered the $84 for the safe trip move. Absolutely get the insurance.
And the dolly. Get the insurance. We did that.
An appliance dolly.
We threw in the dolly. We had the tow behind was an additional $400 as well. So you're looking at about $4,000 for the U-Haul and the car. But hiring movers and stuff, like from New York to Florida, was like 10 grand, 15 grand, like insane. So we just did it ourselves with the U-Haul. One thing to remember as well that we had no idea. So I got out, we had taken this trip down to Florida like multiple times through this year. So I knew how much the tolls were. So I had cash and I gave him cash for the tolls to cover them. And then I had bags, like Ziploc bags of change in case there was something I missed. So when we got to the first one, there was 2 tolls. One of them was $4 and one of them was like 75 cents.
Yeah, the first one was 75 cents. The second one was $4 for her.
Apparently, a U-Haul is different.
For me, the first one was $3.50, and for the second one, it was $13.
A $13 toll. So plan for tolls if you're taking U-Hauls. Take extra money because the tolls are going to be ridiculous. We had no idea.
Two pieces to recap real quickly. I know I'm getting rushed because the battery's going to die. Get the appliance dolly every single time. It will be more useful than you having a buddy come over and helping you, and you don't have to feed it when you're done.
And
secondly is when you go to those tolls, should you miscalculate and run out of money, have the car go before the truck because they can pay the toll for the truck behind you. I pulled up in front of her and told him that I didn't have enough money, that she would pay it behind me. And of course, he couldn't just take my word for it. She had to wave the money out the window, and it was a whole thing.
I was like waving it out the window, like being like, "It's right here, dude. I'm gonna pay it." So anyway, then we stopped in South Carolina. We drove for like 12 hours, I think, and then we stopped in South Carolina overnight. We had called on the way and made a reservation. We confirmed we could have pets. We get to the hotel. He goes in to book it, and all of a sudden we find out.
Okay, hold on. I'll tell you what we find out. On the way down, before we ever left, I had planned where we were stopping overnight. I verified that the Hampton Inn is a pet-friendly hotel. I had one picked on the southwest side of Columbia, South Carolina. We had a point, we had a destination, we had a goal, and we took off. What I didn't calculate, what I didn't know, was how much time I was going to lose in the mountains driving such a big, heavy load.
Yeah. And in the snow. On the way down, there was a lot of snow that caused us to have to go slower.
In the mountains, I lost a lot of time, and it would have pushed us quite far into the night for us to continue on. So I called Hampton. The truck that I had, the U-Haul I had a Bluetooth. So I called the Hampton Inn, and I told the guy, I need you to help me. I needed a room somewhere between Charlotte, North Carolina, and Columbia, South Carolina, right off of Highway 77. And the guy was fantastic. He said, I know exactly where you're at. I'll find one. He found me a great hotel in Rock Hill, South Carolina. I told him I need a pet-friendly, no sweat. So we get to the hotel, and they are pet-friendly if your dog or cat is 25 pounds or less.
What kind of dog is 25 pounds or less?
Certainly not our Bumble. If you've ever seen the videos and you see Bumble, he is not 25 pounds.
He is a Saint Bernard. So now we're here. We're all exhausted. We're like, it's happening, and we don't care. And then we forgot the lock for the U-Haul. So if you're a freak like me and paranoid about the world, you need to get a lock for your U-Haul too, like a padlock. We didn't have one. I've been working on my anxiety. I'm trying to calm down in life because I just worry about everything. So I'm trying to work on that. He was obviously over it by the end of the day. He's like, do you seriously want me to try to go find a lock? I'm like, you know what? No, let's just leave it, leave it and see what happens. I'm sure it'll be fine. Nobody will mess with it.
See,
so he parked.
Again, we're different in this aspect. She is afraid that somebody's going to come all and steal all of our stuff. And I'm over here like, I wish a mother would. I'm ready. Go ahead and try to steal my stuff. I don't care. We'll take care of that.
So anyway, we parked across the hotel. Like we parked out across the way, and then we had our room right there. We also made sure that the room was at the very far end so that we could walk up the stairs to the room.
Hold on. I made sure, back to the level-headed part, she's pacing the parking lot ready to fight someone. For what I don't even know at this point. So I had a 26-foot U-Haul with the car trailer and everything, and I had to park it in the road. There was an access spot in the road. I was parked right behind another tractor trailer, and it was directly in front of the hotel. The guy gave me a room on the second floor all the way at the very end of the hallway.
So it's by the stairs and stuff. So we snuck Bumble in, long story short.
So I parked the truck in front of the hotel. I verified where the room was at. And I told the guy I need a room where I can have access all the way at the end so that I can see the truck. So yeah, that's what we did. Was the door at the very end. We just came in straight up the stairs and into the room.
The room was the first one. So Lucy's our cat. She did totally fine. I'll tell you more about that in a second. But I don't even feel bad about sneaking him in because I didn't realize at the time, but I found out after when I was doing the bills and looking at the bank account, you pay a $25 pet fee. So I definitely didn't feel bad about my 2 animals that did absolutely nothing to the room. They literally just slept while we slept for a few hours.
I had to sign a paper saying I was okay paying the $25 fee, and I just didn't even bother telling her because we would have slept in the van.
Well, and also the room was non-refundable. So the original guy told us that we could have the animals, and then the room was non-refundable. So if we didn't sneak Bumble in, then we would have had to, we would have lost our money for the hotel room, for everything. So either way, we snuck him in. Everything went fine. As far as Lucy goes, she was in her crate. She rode in her crate the entire time. What I did with her was, first of all, I've heard that you can give them Benadryl. We didn't actually have to do that this time because we went from the kids and I, like when we would do like grocery runs and stuff, we started taking her for rides with us in the crate, like practice runs. And that actually helped work out. It worked out great. She was like, honestly, she only meowed when you called. Like when he would call and talk to me, she would start meowing in the background. It was funny. She was like, Dad, what are they doing to me?
She's my buddy.
So I think like that's the only time she got riled up, but we practiced with her and just got her used to it. And that way it wasn't a big deal. But you can give them Benadryl as well. We don't even give our kids Benadryl, so we didn't want to give her Benadryl, but I did buy some just to have because I didn't know if we would need it. But we ended up not needing it because she did a great job with no issues the whole way. Honestly, the whole trip was absolutely amazing. The kids were great. The animals were great. Bumble's fine anyway. He always rides. He loves going for rides, so he's totally fine. But all we did, we have a stow and go van, so like you can fold down the 2 middle seats. So we folded down one of them. So I had 2 kids in the 3rd row, 1 kid in the center console, like center captain chair, and then 1 captain chair down where Bumble laid, and then Lucy was between the 2 of the kids in the back. And then they each had a bin of like their devices and stuff that they wanted for the car. And then I had 1 bag of like our clothes for the overnight. And then I had a bin of food. I kept the food. They each had snacks. I let them each pick like 5 snacks to take with them along the way. We did not do any, I think we got food one time. No, we got food at the hotel, like at a restaurant. He left and grabbed like Wendy's or something. But we didn't want to do a lot of like Starbucks or any of that because with the U-Haul, this thing was massive and it's really long. So like going through drive-thrus, obviously he can't go. So for me to run through the drive-thru and then pull over and like give him the, food and all that, it was just a mess. So we didn't do any of that. I think that's all I had for notes. A lot of the questions were about like how Lucy did and where the sign was for the Florida sign where we took our picture. If you watch the video before this one, the actual drive down, you see us drive directly to it and we explain fully where it's at. So it's right over the Florida border. There's one you'll see right when you hit the border and then you keep going and it's like a few miles into the state. It's just right at the Welcome Center and you can take a picture there. What else? I'm trying to think of. That's pretty much all we had to do was handle all of that business. But like I said, he had a job it was a good job at the time and we just were like, now's the time. So we had to just kind of take the leap. And there's been a lot of times where we're like, we don't know what the hell is going on or what is going to happen. We have no idea, but it's just a chance and it's just a chance you have to take because it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. If you actually do it. And I think fear crushes more dreams than, what is that saying? Fear crushes more dreams than, I don't know, whatever. It's like if you're afraid to do something, you're just never going to do it, and it's, You know what I mean.
So there's a lot of what we said that may not apply to you, but first of all, do it. If you're thinking about doing it, if you have a dream, do it.
Life is just too short.
A couple of bits that we learned from this whole process: downsize everything possible.
Yes.
Get the appliance dolly. Get the insurance.
Do a house inspection.
Do a house inspection.
Don't run your AC at 65.
Yeah.
The first 2 days here, I was like, the first day, I was like blasting the AC because that's my jams. And he was like freaking out at me. He's like, we can't do that, blah, blah, whatever. And I was just like, I thought he was too cold. Well, then my dad started yelling at me. He's like, you're going to break your system if you keep doing that. I'm like, oh, crap, I didn't know. So I called him right away, and I'm like, my dad said, turn it up, turn it up.
And what did I say?
I already did.
Yeah.
It was bad. I didn't realize you could break them.
She had it cranked down to hang meat in our house. So the second she left, I shut the whole thing off. And then she calls me, oh, my dad said I'm going to break it. I know. So I had already shut it off. Hopefully you took something away from this.
Thanks for watching.
Yeah, our journey may not be the same as yours. Most likely it isn't.
Just do it.
Do it.
Do it.
If you have questions about your journey, ask us. We've done a tremendous amount of research that we're more than happy to help in any way we can.
Just do it. Stop thinking about it.
Hopefully this gives you the motivation to fulfill your dreams. We did. And
we are living our best life, seriously.
For real. It's never been better.
This is amazing. I had groceries actually delivered to my house. That's something I've never even been able to think about before. That was pretty awesome. Okay, so the battery just died again. So thanks for watching, guys, and we will see you in the next one. What's the next one coming up? Oh, the downtown market.
I think the downtown market's coming up.
Oh, and a house tour. Everyone's bugging me for the house tour.
Yeah.
I did do a house tour. I did a quick run through when we first got here. He was parking the U-Haul and I came in and I did a house tour real quick. So we do have that as well.
And if I am going to say that I'm so in love with this house, I really can't wait until we show you anyways. And the next video,
it gets better every time.
The next video is the downtown Ocala downtown market.
Yes.
And the next trip we have planned to film is the Daytona International Christmas lights, I believe. Probably.
Maybe. Or breezy. We'll see.
It's Tuesday. That's planned for Saturday. There's a lot of time.
There's a lot of things that could happen between now and Saturday.
Yeah, 4 days, 3 days. Who knows?
Yeah.
I have a trip planned to go to Harry's Seafood tomorrow. I've heard it's a really nice place here. You should try it.
Well, you try it first before you say.
Okay.
And then we'll say. You'll report back. So yeah, anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully, some of this helped. We get a little chatty sometimes. Play it back. I'm the one rushing you.
I know.
You with your jokes.
I was busy. Jokes. I was busy giving all the good advice.
What good advice?
Get the dolly.
I know.
Get the insurance. Sell everything.
For real, sell everything. Because, we were loading the U-Haul in the snow, and it was ridiculous. But I don't think we would have made... I don't know. It's so hard to tell because of our furniture. But I did sell a ton of stuff that you won't need here. It's okay. We were whatever. It is what it is. We're moving to Florida, right?
Yeah.
So who cares?
They sell stuff here.
And it's open. You can just walk in and get it.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. Or have it delivered.
Yeah, that was cool.
All right. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next one when we go to the downtown market or a house tour. I don't know which one I'll put up first. Probably whichever one I can edit faster. But hopefully you guys got some tips and tricks. Don't forget your toll money because you're going to get ripped off.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure we didn't forget anything because there was like so much.
I'm trying to think of my number one piece of advice that I would pass along from this whole thing.
Do it.
Other than that.
Oh. Stop thinking, start doing. Was gonna ain't never did nothing.
There it is. That's my grandma. My grandma said that. Was gonna ain't never did nothing.
Life's too damn short. Gotta just roll with it, right?
And get the dolly.